We're here with Alicia Powe, and she's been doing interviews on every subject. She's conservative and does interviews for World News Daily and other outlets. So maybe I'd like to get your take on, do you think there's a racism problem in America?
There's been a racism problem in the world from the beginning of history, but I think the United States has been able to transcend racism, and especially having been derived from slavery. Slavery was an issue, of the world since the beginning of time, but in just 200 and some odd years, 230 some odd years, we've transcended a heck of a lot as far as racial relations goes. And we just had our first African American president, President Obama, get elected twice. So I think that speaks volumes about achieving the American dream and transcending racism.
What is racism?
Well, leftists would say it's a social construct, but it's
I want to know what you think.
basically it takes some thought to put it in one sentence of what racism is, but
Let me ask you a
to
couple questions. If someone won't let you into their club or organization because of your race, would that be racism?
absolutely.
Or if they think you have bad character because of your race, that would be racism?
For the most part.
Well, sometimes that's not racism.
I mean, I think it's natural that people kind of have a natural inclination, as far as studies show, to want to be with their own groups.
But I mean, if you conclude somebody has bad character because of their race, would that be racism?
It could be racism, but there are stereotypes out there that in some cases people fulfill. Is that racism? It depends on the situation, to be honest with you. But for the most part, yes, it is.
Sometimes
if you're not judging someone by their if you're judging someone by their character, that has nothing to do with their skin color.
Right, so if you conclude that somebody has bad character because of their race, that would be
Then
racism.
that would be poor judgment. That doesn't
Wouldn't-
necessarily mean that you won't like someone else that's of whatever race. If you're saying someone has purple skin and that they're bad because they have purple skin, that's ignorant, right? And that is racist. But you could also be friends with someone else who has purple skin. And
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I mean,
But
this
when you come to a conclusion that somebody has bad character because of their race, you're
Okay,
not
well,
focusing on their actions and
there
their
are-
character, right? You should focus on a person's actions and their character, not on the color of their skin.
Absolutely.
So, can a white congressman become a voting member of the Congressional Black Caucus?
They should be able to, but the Congressional Black Caucus seems to perpetuate racism.
Right.
Anti-white racism at that.
Right, because they won't let white congressmen become a voting member of that group. In other words, they're using race as a factor to evaluate the merits of entry into that organization.
You said it.
So what about universities that use race as a factor to give extra points or credits to, say, black people when evaluating the merits of entry into their university?
Affirmative action.
Yeah.
There are affirmative action. It's actually not. It's not serving the group that it's intended to serve. Studies show that it should be based on merit, not skin color. Once again, of course.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, because if you're getting into a school, say you're going to MIT, just because of your skin color and your grades and don't match up with that, and your skill set might not match up with that. So what that's going to lead to is you ultimately flunking out of school, right? If you just weren't qualified, but you got in on your merits just because of your skin color and not on merit, then how are you going to compete with your peers there who have this high IQ and high testing scores and all of that? So it seems on the outside like affirmative action. We want to make sure, and there needs to be, there's a balance. It's a multi-layered, multifaceted issue. Because yes, there's extremes that we're going to. It's always becomes polarized.
Well, I think you made a very good point, and you could be harming the people that you're trying to help because if they flunk out, then you just hurt them.
Pretty much. So it's inherently racist. It might not seem like it on the surface, but I believe the parties, the political parties that promotes affirmative action, is aware of these things, and if they're not helping the demographic they claim they're trying to help.
Right, it's racist because they're using race as a factor instead of focusing on the actions, on the facts of the merits of the entry into their university.
Yeah.
So, would you agree that you should judge people based on their actions, not on the color of their skin?
Absolutely, and I think that that is Americanism. That is what our country is about.
And does any given member necessarily have the traits that are prevalent in their racial group?
Does any given member have the traits that are prevalent in their? What do you mean?
Let's say there's some group where people are poorer or not as smart or whatever. Does that mean that everyone in that group is necessarily like that?
Absolutely not, but
that's also the
there
mistake,
are
right? Like you were saying before.
Right, but there is people who are in power who want to perpetuate negative stereotypes. So, and by doing that, you know, these groups may not realize it, but they are fulfilling those negative stereotypes, right? By race baiting politically, you are making people become more inclined to fulfill those stereotypes.
So the law should be colorblind, right?
Sure.
Well, I think we agree, Alicia, and I think I really thank you for this interesting interview. And
what is the topic of discussion? I mean, what is your story about this time?
Well, I just did an interview with you on racism.
Okay.
And we cleared everything up.
You gonna write it up?
No, we're gonna put it on the internet.
Okay. All right. Can I have your card?
Sure.
I don't have any cards left.
Well,